Yeah, all good.
So welcome, Adam. This is a fabulous group of people that are working under the membership of Connecting Consciousness. And I just wanted to take a bit of time to introduce you to the community, because I've known you for years and years, and I've traveled a little bit along the way of the journey with you. And I just want to share some of your incredible resources and wisdom and crazy wisdom and everything else with people. So, Adam, what I thought is maybe, because in a way we've got a lot of people coming in, they'll maybe watch this video later. If you could just give us a little bit of an introduction as to who you are, your background. I'd also love you to talk a little bit about sort of your orientation, like to the nature of reality. Just a little bit of that, like.
Okay.
Before we get into what you're doing now.
Okay, well, I think the two sort of play into each other, so I'll just kind of dovetail them, just start from the middle and spread outward. So I was a homeopathic doctor for 20 years, and I eventually decided that I needed to branch out to make a system of medicines which would cover a lot of the issues that I was dealing with as a homeopath, but weren't necessarily, I wasn't able to broad source them, or I wasn't able to give them to more people. So I developed a system of medicine, which I've now got, which is complete now, called the Golden Box, which is launching in about a month. I mean, it's 12 remedies, and they basically cover pretty much any mental, emotional, spiritual ailment one might have. I know this is a bold claim to make, but you used to fairly bold claims from you, Amanda, but I mean, this is pretty much what I've looked at. Each one has been an evolution from the one before. The first one I started with was liberation, which was an energetic medicine. I mean, it's not traditional energetic medicine. I found a way to amplify the frequencies so that even the most hardened or insensitive of people can actually feel them. But what the intention was behind liberation was, as a remedy, that would go in there and would finish our karmic loops. So, for example, the unfinished business of the past, all the people we had issues with or we hadn't resolved, that was somehow stuck in our body, it would bring these to completion so that we could have resolution either in dream space, or often you would actually see, you'd just be walking around and people from your past would just pop up. I mean, I had a friend of mine in Dubai. She said she took the liberation the first day, and 3 of her ex-boyfriends phoned her on the same day. And what was basically coming out of this was like a chance to either bring them closer to have final resolution or to find a new paradigm. And this is really what, these medicines are all about. It's like changing the existing paradigm from where we're at to something we're more in alignment with from a soul purpose perspective. And all of them have really fed on from each other. Now, the latest ones I've done is in the Immortality series, and they're just being launched now, are Immortality Lakshmi and Immortality Kali, and so we're allowing ourselves to bring in these external forces. We can align with these forces, which, I mean, a lot of it is through mantra. Mantras, the different mantras are being chanted into the liquid so that we can actually embody these aspects to, in the case of Lakshmi, for example, embody abundance, on the deepest level. So Immortality Lakshmi has, the blue lotus, which I know you know, and the creation and the golden spiral. So it's basically all the beautiful things of the world so that we can, from a cellular perspective, embody these aspects instead of just imagining abundance. I mean, this is the normal way people go about these processes. They'll imagine abundance and they'll imagine themselves to be abundant. But it's not actually telling their cells on a deeper level, look, I am the embodiment of abundance, and feeling that, So, when people take that, there's a great sense of relaxation, a sense of like, well, there's actually enough, there's more than enough, I am abundance, as opposed to like, I have to think myself into this perspective on it. So this is really where I'm going with a lot of it. A lot of the remedies are to do with peeling away the past, peeling away the unfinished business. Some of them are plant medicines, which I've amplified and put into substances, in order to really aid us in the path. And the idea behind this whole system of medicine, this golden box, is that it's a companion. It's something we have, so we can open up and we can say, okay, well, what do I need for today? What do I want to feel today? Like, rather than leave ourselves up to the mercy of our own emotions, which we can do, but if we have the option to say, well, actually, I don't feel like being grumpy when I woke up, I'm going to take creation or golden spiral or tranquility, one of these, with these remedies, which actually bring us into alignment with, the better version of ourselves. Not the better as if there's anything wrong with us, but we can always be in a better mood. We can always have more time, free time, more abundance, more sense of empowerment. You can actually be yourself. Now, I was working quite recently with the Immortality Kali, which had 3 Kali mantras in, what it does is it has the deconstruction stuff of Kali, so the breaking down of the ego, of the illusions, but it's also got a mantra in it which has to do with the boons, the gifts, and the learnings of Kali. So it's like we can actually, when we consume these things, it was chanted by a very good friend of mine, and what he communicates to me when he chants these mantras is that if you have the devotion, the Hindu word for it is bhavana, it's like the feeling of it, you can actually call these mantras into a liquid form, and then we can take them. Now, from a Buddhist perspective, and this is the other part of a lot of my teaching, is the Buddhist teachings is around the wrathful deities, the peaceful deities, and we all have aspects of both. So, for example, if we needed to go into a particular memory or situation and deconstruct it, we would bring in the wrathful deities, we would bring in those aspects which would break it down, clear it, and then on the flip side, on the other side, we might move to Lakshmi, which is around the abundance and sort of the enriching and the nourishing. So, what I've got here is a very potent set of tools which allow us to basically reconfigure our psyche, bring a new installation, a new neurological installation into our cells from an insider's perspective. Once again, it's not like, when you read a book, you're the outsider looking in, but if you're the insider and then the perception going out, it's very different. The difference between reading a book about, what apples taste like and actually tasting the apple. Now, this is the tasting the apple. This is what it feels like to be in these states. Now, one of my other remedies, creation, is designed. I mean, it's got the light of Jupiter and royal jelly and wildflower pollen and bee pollen and, proteas and, all the beautiful things of the world. And what I've tried to do with that is basically reverse engineer my best day ever. So what I would feel like, in my best day ever. So like, okay, I want to feel open. I want to feel expanded. I want to feel communicative. I want to feel happy. I want to feel relaxed in myself. You see, these are the traits that I've engineered a lot of these medicines around, so that we don't have to necessarily leave anything up to chance. I mean, stuff is happening anyway. You wake up in the morning in a particular mood, but if you make a decision to actually, change that mood, this is now an option. We're not at the mercy of our emotions, basically. I remember part of the reason I developed all of this, I remember when I was about 10 or 12, every morning I'd wake up and I was in a different mood, and I was like, why can I not just have a consistent mood throughout the week? Why can't I just wake up in a good mood? Why do I have to be depressed the one day and sad the next day and happy the next day? And like, why was it such a random thing? So a lot of this technology is about training the nervous system, or teaching the nervous system, or installing a new set of values per se. I mean, values is kind of the wrong word, but feelings. So a new set of, this is the way I want to go out into the world today. And in this mode, I will automatically be more open, more expressive, more direct, more playful. And in that, a lot more will come to me, because we all know if we're in a bad mood, then the guy cuts us off in the car and we get irritated by him, and then we hit traffic, and then someone does something silly on the road, and then the we get to the ATM and whatever, it's not working. So it's like, if we can change that before we actually enter the day, we can actually condition the day. We can basically massage the day into the kind of day we want to have. And in that, everything just unfolds as it should be. I mean, a lot of this is, I believe, our natural state, you know, to be in a state of open exaltation and happiness, and not to be thrown by the events of the world, especially now with the world in such turmoil. We really need to be on our A game all the time, because what we're being confronted with on every level is so radical. It's so, I mean, I think a lot of people have just come from a, like, well, okay, everything was fine, and then Corona hit. Now it just seems everything is compounding. The volcanoes are erupting. It's really getting quite crazy out there. So, you know, if we are in alignment with the mood of the moment, or the mood of the day, or we're in our best state ever, then we're more likely to draw into our reality what we need. And this is really how I've engineered the golden box. And this is what I've designed it for, to have it as a companion. You open up the box and say, well, okay, well, what do I need for today? Maybe I have a meeting, so I need to be more perky. Maybe I have a calm day with my child, so I need to be more calm. So we can massage the mood into the state we want it to be in, so that we can get the optimal experience from what we're going out and doing. Now, I know this all sounds a little bit like amazing, like how can this be so? But it is so. I mean, I've spent the last 5 years working on this. I mean, I spent the previous 20 years getting the building blocks in place and looking at what basically makes a happy human, or what, I mean, I've used myself as an example, and I design all my remedies around, okay, well, I want it to be powerful, I want it to be gentle, I want it to be fun, I want it to be playful, because these are important values to me. Because if it's too painful, you know, we just go back into more reactive patterning, and then we're stuck in that, and that creates more karma. So the idea is to free ourselves from this loop of conditioned behavior that we find ourselves in. And this is really the message of the Buddha. He's saying to everyone, get off the wheel. Don't be caught on this wheel of rebirth into like anger or jealousy or whatever. Rise above this, integrate all these aspects, realizing that yes, to be angry is a perfect response to a situation, but don't be caught in it, you know, like slam the door and then walk away and drop it. So this is really what a lot of these remedies teach us, because they allow us to dialogue with ourselves on a deeper level. A lot of it happens at the level of dreams. You know, a lot of resolution happens in dreams. But I mean, I'd just like to share a few stories there. You've probably heard them, but the rest might not have. Like, there was a woman in England who was taking liberation, and she'd been on it for about a week, and she'd been fighting with her parents for 10 years. She literally had not spoken to them for 10 years, and they were in another town, and she was driving home on the way to her town, through that town, and a car breaks down 100 meters from their house. So she's forced to go there for help. But because she's more open and she's taking liberation, one could even say liberation engineered the situation for this to happen. She walks through the door. She bursts into tears. The father sees her. He bursts into tears. They both like hug each other, both in tears. The mother's looking at them in tears. And in that half an hour of just intense emotional discharge, all the pain of the past is resolved, and they're able to form a new interaction. So this is really what, you know, these medicines are to work on. It's like, well, it doesn't have to be broken. It doesn't have to be a mess. It doesn't have to be like, okay, that's the box of this just doesn't work, and I have to put that over there and never deal with it again. We can actually take it, we can open it up without pressure, without too much charge. We can have a step back from it. We can look at it and say, well, I'm going to actually start working with this. Now, some of the remedies just put you in the situation anyway. It says, look, this needs to be dealt with, deal with it. But often it's dealt with in dreams. So we'll have a dream where there's resolution with a person, or, you know, the person we were fighting with in the dream, we have a conversation, and our body is able to feel what it would feel like to have that resolution. And in that feeling, the body is able to let go of it. I think it was Jung who said that if we do a resolution in a dream, it's the same as resolving it in real life, because the body doesn't know the difference. The body's felt the sense of resolution, and we're then able to let go of it and move. You know, my personal experience with liberation was quite, I mean, it was probably like 10 bottles of this whole process of clearing and letting go. But it was, the image I had was, I was on a ship, and the ship, the water was coming over the bows. I had too much childcare, I had too many patients, I had too much work, not enough money, and I was being overloaded. I was just getting through the day. And as I started taking the liberation and clearing these memories, it was like I was throwing bags of concrete over the side. And each time I threw the bag of concrete over the side, the ship raised up in the water until the water was not coming over. And then I was actually, well, look, where do I want to go? And then the decision was, well, let me go back to all my ports of call, all my previous memory stashes, where there was a mix of like tangled yarn, which was like the emotional mess of it, but there was also certain gems. So in the going back to these places and the untangling of the yarn, the gems were revealed. Throw the skeletons overboard, take the gems back. And each time I did that, I became more and more empowered. Now, out of liberation came redemption. Redemption was designed to really, be this force which would come in and like clear the patterning, because liberation dealt a lot with the memory, but out of memory obviously comes patterning. So we have a memory of someone hitting us, and then the patterning would be we go into constriction or anger or something, and often we're bound by this pattern to repeat it again and again until we unpack it. Now, redemption, because redemption was made from Navaratna, which is the mother of all plants, but she's an immortal tree goddess, basically. So her response to the human condition was a bit, it was unusual, because it's hard for her to really relate to what it's like to be human if you're an immortal tree goddess that basically created plant life on earth. So, she would do stuff like I would have dreams of like houses all the time. I'd have dreams of houses. Then after taking her for like a month, in the dream, she just destroyed the house. And I was sitting on the rubble of the house saying, oh, do I have enough Lindt chocolate chip or Lindt almond to basically pay the workers to build me a new house? But it was like, well, I've now destroyed my house. And if the house is the symbol for the subconscious, the unconscious, and the conscious, I demolished it, which was actually what was required in order for me to evolve. So it was like the breaking of the skin of the egg or the cocoon, breaking that out, and all of a sudden you're a butterfly and you're flapping around. It's like, oh, I can't go back into the cocoon, but now I can actually create a new structure, that's more in alignment with who I am now, not who I was as a result of my upbringing and my parenting and all my parents and my history. So it represented freedom, but then it didn't exactly do what I wanted to do, which is where Panacea comes in, which is one of my later ones, which is it's a plant remedy. It's Sananga and Bobinsana, two remedies that I'm able to really dialogue with. And I've worked with these plants in dream space to basically say to them, look, walk with this person, show them what they need to know, or show them where their actions and their attitudes have caused them to move into suffering. So, for example, a lot of people saw their physical ailments disappear, eczemas disappeared. Some people will actually just suddenly stop smoking. It's like, okay, this is actually doing me harm. I'm not actually benefiting from it. So they just quit without effort. So, it's a stick when you need a stick to cross the river. It's a boat when you need a boat to cross the river. It's a book when you need a manual for reference. It's a friend who'll stand by you while you're walking through the valley of the shadow. It's designed to be an ally on the path back to the self. And that really is what this whole golden box journey is. It's the journey back through the self to the self. Now, just a brief bit on immortality, because that became like quite the rock star product at one point, because it's made from the immortal jellyfish, Turritopsis doni, which is this tiny little jellyfish. It's like the size of my fingernail, but it has the ability to regenerate endlessly. So it either gets old and regenerates, or it gets injured and it regenerates. And I found that if I was able to pierce these little nodules on it, it sent it back into like a rebirth process. And then I returned it to the sea, but I captured this event, this moment of this discharging of this biochemical substance, which is basically a strong directive to return us to an earlier version of ourselves. Now, when people started taking immortality, was rolling back skin cancers, and people had a lot of energy. People's hair, which was gray, went back to dark again. Even one woman who was 65 started menstruating again. Women are like, oh, I'm not so happy about that. But like this was the power of immortality to return us to an earlier version of ourselves. And this was seen in the kidney chi, which is the life force. So kidney chi is responsible for keeping cancers in line, but also like nail growth, hair growth, general strength in the body. And as we get older, that diminishes, which is why cancers come in. But you know, I noticed with my knees, they were a mess. They were a complete mess. They used to click when I used to come down from the mountain. Now my knees are fine. It's basically regenerated these structures. But if it's regenerating those structures, it's also regenerating skin. It's regenerating the liver, the kidneys, and all the structures that can be regenerated. So it really is this sense of youth. Now, what I did with the immortality, because after about 5 bottles, the body adapted to it. So what I started doing with that is I started mixing it with mantras. So like the first one was 1 level of immortality, and then 3 was I put the Ganesh mantra, which is removing of obstacles, and then 5 was the Garuda mantra, which is around rising above your situation. 7 was Lakshmi, with a whole lot of other bits and pieces. 9 is Kali. I'm going to go up to 12, which will be Shiva, which will have the dance of dissolution in. But these are all ways of interfacing with these primordial forces that have been, I mean, these mantras have been chanted hundreds of millions of times, possibly billions of times. So it's this giant archetypal resource one can just tap into and pull down and then consume. And it's the message to the cells so that we don't have to do the mantra 100 or 500 or 1,000 times. We can just take it and we get the wisdom of that archetype, which we can pull down as a personal archetype and use it to work through different situations. So this in a nutshell is what I've been doing, Amanda.
So it's almost like an entrainment code in a way, hey, so that you're introducing the code like a training wheel, and then the consciousness of that being starts to understand how to organize itself around that, like almost like a morphogenic field code.
It's a morphogenic field which we're tapping into in order to aid us. You know, I think at this point, I don't think anyone would disagree that we need as much help as we can get, and like bringing in these archetypal forces, and this is what they are. They're archetypal forces of remover of obstacles, rising above the situation, abundance, dissolution, recreation. So in order to allow these processes to take place in ourselves, you know, I had a very interesting experience. I'm working on Immortality Shiva, but I took it, and it's very new. It hasn't been brought out yet. I'm still working on it. But I went for a rolfing session, and he was working on my neck, which got quite stiff. And I realized how much memory was stored in the face, neck, head. This whole area is like, this is where we operate most of the time. The rest of the body kind of just cruises along with it. But as he was pressing all these points and moving stuff around, floods and floods of memory, just of situational stuff, of aggravations, of postures, mental and emotional postures, which translate into physical postures. So like tensions, which translate into like back tension, neck tension. So it really showed me in real time how the mind, the emotions, and the body exist as different parts of the field. And if you push it at one area, it'll unleash other stuff, or if you unlock it in one space, it'll unlock other fields. Now, you know, the potential for using this in conjunction with body therapies is just massive, obviously, because of that. And then people really get to understand how it is that like the clenching of the jaw is around like the not dealing with stuff in reality, or like the having to deal with stuff we really don't like, and the loosening of that. If we can find a new way to operate where we don't get stuck in these habitual, oh, it's broken, I just have to deal with it being broken kind of attitude, which for me is not good enough. For me, that's a challenge. It's a challenge, like, how can I cleverly find a way around the situation? And a lot of the golden box remedies are like, okay, there's A, there's yes, there's B, there's no, and there's C. Well, let's have a different interaction. And maybe it's a combination of A and B, and maybe it's something completely different, but something that actually works for us, and ironically often works for the other person in the equation. Because like it or not, you know, most of our issues are in and around, you know, fellow human beings, because there's conflicts of personality, of ego, of like desires, wishes. I mean, this is really where the cookie crumbles for everyone. But if we can find a clever way, and I find when I'm taking these remedies, I'm more likely to initiate a resolution. I'm the one that steps into the river, and I said, okay, I've stepped into the river, now come join me. And then because I've taken the first step, then I've kind of broken the ice, they're more likely to step into the river. And the river is neither them nor me. The river belongs to no one. It's neutral terrain. And in that neutral terrain, we're able to carve a new reality. And this is really what this is about. It's about creating new realities for ourselves, realities that really work. And I think, you know, what I've learned from this journey is that there's a tremendous amount of stuff to be done, but I've also learned how one can kind of fast track a lot of the stuff as well. You know, if one takes the immortality and the liberation together, for example, it's a very potent cocktail, because the ones working on the karmic memories, the memories that are stuck in the body, and the other one's just like, it's almost like spitting out old memory, because when you take immortality, a lot of the old memory returns as we go back through it. So when you combine them, and then you say throw something like panacea, which is designed to deal with the patterns that arose out of these memories, you get a very potent cocktail. So this is where we are at the moment with this. It'll never be finished per se, but it feels like there's a system of medicine. I'm calling it beyond medicine, because this is where we are at the moment. We need something that helps us to move beyond medicine, so that we're not always just putting plasters on things. We're actually getting to the level where the structure of it's coming into form. So if we could speak to the blueprint, and the blueprint, correct the blueprint, then automatically the physicality will come back into line. Whereas the way a lot of most medicine is, that it deals with the level of, let's deal with the floorboards, which are cracked and buckled. But why the floorboards buckled? Because the foundations are out of alignment. So what we're saying here is like, let's bring the foundations back into alignment, and then the floorboards will just automatically not buckle, and then everything will be fine. But let's rather do it there than trying to fix it at the level of the surface. You know, even like skin stuff, when something gets on the skin, it's there, but that's often a symptom of something deeper, you know, that really needs to be addressed. And these are the tools to address these things, whether it's emotional, mental, karmic, physical, traumatic. I mean, the causes of disease are endless, but once we start making headway with this, once we start really moving through it, it becomes exciting. It becomes a journey. It becomes like, oh, wow, what's next? You know, people would say to me like, well, I can't wait to go to sleep with liberation, because like, what's the next chapter of their movie? Going back to the next thing. It's like, wow, can't wait to see what's actually sitting there. Yeah. So, and of course, there's a lot of youthful energy that comes in with immortality. So like, people want to exercise more. You know, they just have more juice, so they're more likely to exercise, choose a better diet, because they're feeling more energized. You know, I used to swim once a day. Now, when I have time, I'll walk and swim. I'll do both, because I feel like I've got the energy to do both of them. And in that sense, I feel myself becoming younger. And that's really, you know, that's the other cause of disease, of course, as well, is aging. But if we can actually reverse this aging, and I do believe that this will reverse aging. I mean, it's hard to know. I haven't done like a 20-year study, because immortality has only been out for 2 years. But the people who have taken are reporting increased energy, increased libido, increased hair growth, better skin condition, you know, better nail condition, better organ functioning. It's like, it's all the signs of a youthening body. So this is where, once that's dealt with, then we don't have to like, oh, but I'm getting old, therefore I've got this. You know, if we don't even have that, then we can really get down to like, well, I'm going to perfect myself. I'm going to get through all the muck. I'm going to get ahead of my game. I'm going to get on top of my game, as opposed to just being dragged behind the ship and just struggling for breath. Actually jumping on the ship and taking control, setting the sails. It's like, okay, this is where I want to go. I'm going to go reclaim a lot of these memories, in which a lot of teaching and learning and understanding is still sitting. And it's only once we go there and go back through the memories that we see like, wow, okay, well, this is what I got from that. So I don't need to learn this again. I mean, I'm acutely aware of this. I've got a 9-year-old daughter that I'm raising by myself. And like, I'm aware of like saying to her, like, please listen to me, I've done this, you know, it's like, let me give you the benefit of my wisdom so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I know that if you do this, you're going to scrape your knee. So like, do it like this so you don't scrape the knee. And this is the passing on of the teachings. And this is what this box is for. It's like, it's a whole set of medicines, which is designed to help us through the process of living so that we can actually bring into being the fullest extent of who we are, which is the reason for us being here in the first place. But most of us get so caught up in making a living and paying bills and childcare and, you know, just paying tax and like, well, where do we get the time now for the kind of development, the spiritual development, or the moving to the point where we feel like we're actually the master of our own destiny and we're taking control of our reality? When do we ever get to that? Because, and that's what people say to me, like, oh, I'd love to pursue enlightenment, but I've had children. Yeah, I'm like, well, okay, well then whatever. But it's not finished. You know, nothing is set in stone here. Nothing is cast into this state where it's like, oh, it's done, it can't be undone. It's like, well, let's take it out, let's unpack it, let's give it a good wash, let's clean it out, and then let's say, let me use the stuff that I've learned from the past to actually build a new structure for the future. So it's very exciting, you know.
Tim, I want to jump in for a second because there's so much to say, and a lot of people are new to you and the remedies, and you've had a very long journey with a lot of people. And I just want to say, first of all, while you're on talking about the remedies and the technology of it all, that I've like, what is, so this is liberation, this is where you started, right? And it's, what is the ingredients? It's got shungite.
It's got, I mean, the main one that does a lot of the clearing is something called Navaratna, which is Sanskrit for 9 gems. And it's an ancient Buddhist formulation made by Nagarjuna. He was a 3rd century enlightened Buddhist alchemist. But for some reason, he decided to burn these 9 gems. Each gem aligns to one of the Vedic planets, right? So something for everything. But when you burn them and you reburn them, he burns each gem 100 times. Well, he did, right? His followers now do it. So this thing takes a year to make just this one substance. But the purpose of this Navaratna is it's a karmic medicine, right? So it's designed to go in and bring the path to completion. Now the shungite's there, and the other ingredient, shungite cleans water. So obviously blood is water. So as it's cleaning the blood, it's cleaning the water, it's cleaning the blood.
Fields. It also
provides protection from a whole lot of stuff.
For the electromagnetic fields. So it's quite an amazing experience.
Then there's the Panch Agni, which is made from 4 fires. Now there's been someone continuously in the middle of these 4 fires chanting a mantra of the Mrityunjaya mantra, you know, which is the mantra of long life, right? They've been chanting this mantra in the middle of those 5 fires to purify themselves for like the last 50 years. They changed the people, but it's been, the fires have never gone out. I got some of the ash from that fire, and I made a remedy from that. And when I took it, it had a lot of heat, a lot of like, a lot of sweating. It was like I was burning off a lot of the, and it's designed to burn off the passion so that we're no longer enslaved by them. You know, we're not, the idea isn't not that we become Buddhist monks and we just sit there. The idea is like, we don't get bound by the passions. We allow them to arrive. We get angry, we're sad, we feel desire, whatever, but then we move out of it. We don't get stuck in it. And that's really the message behind that. The rest of the substances
I just want to comment on that quickly. So what I've done is with people who are taking the remedies is often I run groups alongside the remedies so that people engage that remedy with intention as well, so that it's not about just something from the outside in, but it's also that you are bringing your intention to the party and meeting the remedy. So the remedy is an ally, but then you are activating it as well with the intention of clearing. And my experience of doing that is it's very, very profound and powerful. It's like, you know, linking shamanically to an element or a, you know, a what do you call it, like a plant, plant teacher or a, you know, whatever it is, the frequencies that have been placed in there, and starting to have that experience. So you find that your vibrational memory blueprint, normal self program starts to broaden, and it widens like this, and it starts to try and like match the frequencies that are embedded into the remedies. So that's why I like to call it like an entrainment. That's been my experience. I'm entraining myself through the frequencies that are in here to the intention of the remedy. And what else was I going to say about that? So liberation is a beautiful place to start, and it brings the most unbelievable dreams. I mean, seriously, the most amazing dreams. So if you're just starting the clearing inside your own cells, old memories, like beginning of repatterning, that's a really good place to start. And I did a lot of work with that. So, and Adam, I want to open up just now to people's questions, but I wanted to just get a little bit of your background though, like the Buddhist, you know, the Dzogchen stuff, and, you know, a bit of sort of how it all started for you. Bit of, you know, like what's your foundation in a way around immortality? What is that for you?
Well, you know, a lot of my vision with this is conditioned by my Buddhist view of, but it's the higher Buddhist view, the Dzogchen teachings, which is the great perfection, and the central piece around that is like everything is pure. Don't change a thing. You know, give up the disease of effort, abide completely in whatever arises. And it sounds simple. It sounds very simple, but the application of it is quite extensive. But in the process of doing that, you integrate a lot of the aspects. You know, I talked before about the wrathful and the peaceful deities, and you know they say the wrathful deities are the most compassionate, and the peaceful deities are the most relentless. Because, but once we bring in these aspects, I mean, within the normal, you know, when a lot of, say, you know, monotheist cultures look at the Buddhist stuff, they see the wrathful deities and they see like a demon, right? But it's just those aspects in ourselves where, you know, the way to explain that best is just to say, you know, if my child came and smashed my TV, the wrathful deities, they would give them a smack, right? The peaceful deities would be like, okay, I'll just leave you, and then break the TV, but then the child electrocutes themselves, the peaceful deity just leaves them. So it's like, it's a sense of this relentlessness, but it's all a sense of like, whatever it takes to bring us to this state of awareness. Now, what is the state of awareness that we're all after? I mean, it really is, for me, and I can only talk from personal experience, to be in the moment, of the moment, engaging completely, being myself, not feeling myself isolated from the moment, and without the sense of me, the observer watching the environment. It's just like me, the participant in the environment, enjoying it as much as possible. Now, you know, the more of these remedies we take, the clearer we become, the more easy it is for that to happen. You know, I did 20 years of homeopathy, and I was like, I started making these remedies. I realized, well, there was so much I still hadn't gotten to, so much Buddhist stuff I'd done, and like I wasn't actually able to get to where these memories were sitting in many cases. So, you know, my Buddhist stuff has conditioned my view. It's the Buddhist stuff and the my commitment not to suffer. You know, so this is what this is all around. But also, you know, what I saw in many cases, that if the cure was too harsh, it would set up a pattern of reaction in people, and then that would be another pattern you'd have to undo later. So all of my remedies are deep acting, they're powerful, but they're also gentle, right? So it's like, you want to feel it, you want to be like, whoa, this is like, but you don't want to feel like, whoa, you don't want to feel pinned to the wall, because there's no joy in that, because then you go into reaction, your nervous system goes into reaction, and you get stuck in that pattern. So, I mean, to go into the Buddhist stuff is really, I think, probably beyond the scope of this, because it really covers the entire human existence. But coming back to the central
most simple form, it would be something like, and I don't know, you'd have to tell me, but like the void brings itself into form and washes itself against the shores of existence in many different forms, but that's all just one, right?
Well, okay, let me give you a nice image here. You know, there's I think it's a Syrian or Babylonian, you probably know it, but the descent of Inanna. Yeah, I don't know if you know the descent of Inanna, but the story was she was the queen of the gods, and then someone either dared her or for some reason she decided to descend into form. So at each level when she descended, she took off her crown, which was her powers of the mind, and she took off her necklace, which was her powers of speech. She took off her like breastplate, which was her powers of whatever. And like as she descended, she was eventually naked in hell, basically earth. And they talk a lot about the descent of Inanna, but what we're talking about here is the ascent of Inanna, like coming from this point, like here we are born into form, like let's make sense of it. Let's make sense of this whole human experience. Like, why am I suffering? Okay, I'm suffering because I'm attached, all right? Like, why am I attached? Because it's the nature of the mind and the body to become attached to things, because we have stuff we like, and if it gets taken away, we suffer. So this whole ascent of Inanna is like taking back our powers and like putting back on the breastplate and putting back on the throat and then the crown so that we can reascend. I mean, that's very much the journey of the raising of the Kundalini and bringing it back to taking our powers back, you know, through our struggle as we climb out of the pits of wherever, we climb out and we re-empower ourselves. And by re-empowering ourselves, we ascend. So this is what
So Adam,
this is really the journey.
Jump in there because, and then I'm going to let other people also ask questions. But it reminds me of the process of ascension. So it's like, okay, as we've coagulated, we've come down and had this experience of form, very fixed, very 3D kind of thing in terms of who we think we are. And as we're going through this ascension back up, we're having to break some of those forms. And one of the, one of the way, or you could say the memory of who we think we are, because that keeps condensing us back into that particular identity. But in fact, if we are just formlessness moving into form and back into formlessness, then we have to practice that. We have to practice that dissolution. And one of the ways to do it, one of the ways that you have been doing it, is to use the entrainment of, various frequencies and mantras and things like that to help the program break down in and sort of re-update or upgrade itself to a new memory of self, you could say. And then once you've sort of integrated some more of that, it's like, okay, now you coded with like a wider sense of self. Now, integrate everything that comes up in your expansion, or let it go, or whatever it is that needs to happen. And then you try something else. So that's in a way, the ideal self, the ascended self, or the fully, awakened and enlightened self, is the one that's not attached to form at all, that can go become this, and then that, and then that, and that. It's not one fixed thing at all, right?
Yeah, no, this is exactly, I mean, one image,
you're doing.
but there's one image that holds this beautifully. It's like they say you should pluck the lotus from the water without falling in. So go into it, like smell the lotus, but then be willing to drop it in the next moment and move on to something else. And that's why they say aversion and desire are these two things that bind us here. Now, it's all very well to say like, yeah, but this is my thing. That it's the nature of human existence to bind to things, to people, to objects, to whatever. So we really have to be very light with the whole thing. We can just hold it and cherish it in that moment, and then it flies away. Like the butterfly, we see its beauty and then we let it pass. We don't feel the need to own it or possess it or put it in a little cage and block it. It's really that kind of ethos so that we don't get bound into suffering. Now, I think the entirety of human existence is, in a sense, dealing with how not to be bound by these situations. I mean, the Buddhists, for me, the reason I like them so much, they're very particular about like what needs to happen. Like, okay, you're suffering because you have desire and aversion. Okay, well, that's all right, great. Yeah, I didn't get what I wanted, I'm suffering. I get what I wanted, I want more, I didn't get it, I'm suffering. Okay, so how do we break that? But then, the entire Buddhism is about techniques to help break this. But a lot of them I found to be quite tricky and require a lot of practice. The nice thing about these remedies is like you take the remedy, it does it for you. You just have to show up, put the drops in your mouth and get through your day. It's like it'll do it for you, because I'm quite lazy essentially. I don't like to sit in meditations for any length of time, but I know if I take a drop of liberation, whatever unresolved stuff is going to be resolved while I sleep, or the person I haven't seen that I need to see to finish some karma will somehow appear in my reality, and I'll have the conversation. I can put it behind me, and that's really what we want.
I'm interrupting you a lot, no, but I just want to talk about the assemblage point thing that what was his name? That famous Carlos Castaneda. How essentially when we want to completely free ourselves of our 3D kind of reality and we're moving into this multi-dimensional self, we need to be able to disassemble our assemblage point and reassemble it. And so we start with that slowly. We don't have to like go to something that's too extreme. And, as you say, that can be traumatic, but you can start slowly. And I personally like the intent point. I like the fact that people are saying, okay, I'm bringing intention to this, because sometimes I think when people hear, take this remedy and that remedy, it can be a little bit of like, oh, giving your power away to the remedy. And I mean, I don't necessarily think that's what it's about, right?
Not at all. No. It's just an ally on the path. The idea of like, the wise man takes counsel when good counsel is there. If my toilet breaks, I'm not going to try to fix it. I'll just get an expert in. I'll say like, okay, come fix my toilet. I'm not giving my power away. I've actually made the money so I can employ the plumber, and I bring in an expert because I realize he knows more than I do at that point. Now, the fact that like with the 9 gems, someone back in India, back in the day, spent the time to burn these 9 gems 100 times each. They went through all that time. The fact that we can take that technology is such a blessing that even exists at all. It's like so incredible. It's like, it's not giving our power away at all, because it's still your journey. You have to have the dreams, you have to walk the walk. It's the key, opening up the thing so you can actually get access to the whole maze and start to run the process. Whereas before, it's often locked off, or we might get visions in a plant medicine ceremony or whatever, and we can't really make sense of it. But it's a very controlled way to sort of access, if you like, the matrix and start to rearrange it so that we can actually take control of it, so that we're not victims to it, so that we can ultimately pluck the lotus from the water, smell it and drop it, and then go off and have a falafel over there, and then enjoy that completely, drop that and go play with our daughter, and then go play with the cat. But we're not holding on to this like, oh, that lotus was so nice, I want another one. I'm going to suffer if I don't get another one. And I see people doing this. They're like, they'll look at a picture of themselves, and I see it. I watch it in their heads. It's like, oh, I was so happy then. And they trash their present moment by looking at an image of the past where they were happy. They're literally, it's like they're sticking a knife in their eye. They're saying like, I'm going to destroy my present happiness out of this like memory of the past. And they feel less happy because they were happier then. And they destroy the present moment. So no one teaches us this stuff when we're younger. We don't get these lessons. I look at my daughter, they're teaching them Roman numerals and fractions and God knows what, yeah? But the really important stuff, like how to deal with your emotions or how not to get caught in the mess of it, they don't teach them. They rely on parents maybe to help them through this, but the parents often don't know either. So it's quite interesting to see what gets taught.
So Adam, just jumping to another topic that's related, which is the Kundalini process and kind of like the planetary Kundalini or the liberation process that's going on the planet. Can you just explain what is, in your mind, what is the Kundalini experience and how sort of do you see that happening here? Like, I mean, through maybe the liberation of the elements or something like that.
Okay, it's a big, okay. Okay, for me, I mean, when I did my Kundalini, whatever, 15, 20 years ago, I raised it up and it went through the different chakras and eventually united at the crown, it dissolved and everything turned into golden light. But for me, what that was, it was a breaking of the dualities of this like separation from things. It was a breaking of a lot of these, one level, another level, another level. But if you fuse them all into one, it becomes one organism. And then like the body, we don't have to say, arm, please reach over there. Well, the arm just does it as the extension of the mind. But this is really the uniting of the masculine and feminine within us so that we're more complete as individuals. Now, I mean, you could argue with all these volcanoes going off, the Kundalini's firing off, and it's designed ultimately to unite, a lot of this thing. But I think what's happening energetically is that as the frequency raises, it starts to stimulate everyone's cells. So everyone starts vibrating faster, and then the Kundalini will naturally rise in them anyway. And then it's like, well, hope you've done your prep work because it's going to get quite hairy at that point, because are you happy dealing with your cells vibrating in a faster level? Because that's what's going to be happening system-wide throughout the world. And I think this is, the idea of an apocalypse or a transformation or a new age. But I mean, even from a Vedic perspective, Shiva is doing the dance of destruction, but it's the dance of destruction and rebirth as well. In the Norse mythology, they talk about Ragnarok, the end of the world. But they talk about a grand conflict between the gods and the giants, an ancient conflict, and the giants come across and there's three, they call them Fimble winters. It's like 3 long winters without a summer. So like as the planet cools, this is an indication of that. And then the gods and the giants go toe to toe. Most of the humans sort of die. The ones that survive are the ones that take refuge in the world tree. And that's also a symbol of the Kundalini, moving up. So I think this is definitely, it's a time for action. I mean, I think no one can really doubt that. Even the naysayers sort of the apocalypse, it's like, it's happening in real time. So if there was ever a time to, engage with these medicines, it's, for me, it's so not giving you power. It's such an empowering thing to know that one can actually, that I've kind of taken the time to craft these things. Like I bought some beautiful knives from Japan. It's like, I can't make those knives, but I can make the money to buy the knives, and I get the knives, and I can appreciate the artistry of the guys who've made these super sharp knives. And that's, in no way is it giving my power away. It's like, I'm giving credit to them, saying, look, I trust you guys enough to make me a really beautiful knife. I'll make money from somewhere else to get this knife. But I want this in my reality. And this is, the nice thing about these medicines is that there's nothing like it. No one else is making stuff. I mean, almost a little bit, but the way I'm doing stuff is so far away from everyone else's. Because I've developed this new technology wherefore I can amplify the memory of water to the point where it's almost palpable. You can feel it. So, and I've been playing with this for years. So I'm like well into the field, and I've actually explored what piece is required to have a complete system whereby all aspects are kind of dealt with, whether it's insomnia or itchy skin or bad dreams or like, poor parenting when you were young, or all of these things are not, you can't change the poor parenting, right, that happened to us, but you can change your response to it. And if you change the response to it, you're no longer bound by it. And that's what this is about.
So I just want to add one more thing of my own, and then we'll open up to questions. So part of what I see this whole process is like, in the alchemy process of what they outline in the Emerald Tablet is just what we're saying again, is that form comes down through the layers and eventually solidifies. And then we've kind of been this form in various different ways for a long time. And then once you start putting sort of fire underneath that form, or the crucible, so whatever that, you know, activation would be, it can often be like what creates a spiritual awakening, for example, is what I'm trying to say. So sometimes it can be a frequency of something that's not you, or you're not used to it being you, or it's focusing on a higher or wider vibration, and then all those bottom levels start to dissolve and crumble. So you've gone from your form through a transition, and now you're moving your way back up. And the Kundalini process that the Earth's going through as well will really be dissolving old structures. And while that happens, all these memories and old energies will be freed up. And then we kind of get to watch that and witness it as this old self and old Earth dies. It's like almost like having a death and a light review, and sort of then a reincarnation, all without dying as such.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're definitely at a very interesting place in history. I mean, I personally, you know, I've kind of, this time for me is a time of great transformation, of great liberation, but also casting off of a lot of the density. So it's actually a beautiful rebirth. I mean, it's not everyone might see it as such, but like it or not, I mean, humanity it's gone off in all sorts of weird directions. So I think it's time for a taking stock, you know, like it's, if you were to say to everyone, like, can you justify your existence on this planet, you know, to the planet, and the planet was listening, is like, you must not justify your being here to the planet. What would people say, you know?
Like being a guardian.
Yeah, as a guardian, have you succeeded as a guardian? Have you looked after the planet? Have you cherished this as a beautiful creation, or have you just exploited it for your personal gain? And you know, I think it's time for that kind of, you know, for whom the bell tolls kind of moments like this. Like, okay, well, here, pay the piper. Not like in the sense of like God above looking at that, but just the planet. You know, have you, as a human being, have you been a creator in this planet, and have you done stuff that you're really proud of? And like, if say 500 people were to survive on this planet, could you justify you being one of them? I mean, this is really the point, you know, that I find everything is at now. But I mean, you know, regardless of the answer to that, you know, if people feel that the answer to that is yes, they do deserve to be here, then they're really required to show up in the fullness of their capacity and really be radiant examples of humanity. And you know, that's why I designed this whole system, so that people would have the ability to work on it if they wanted to. You know, for a long time, I wasn't even aware that one could get to these memories. I wasn't aware that there was a way to even access this stuff. But when I found it, it's like, okay, well, now we can access, we can start working with it. So whether people choose to do actual Kundalini activations or Kalas Castaneda, you know, shifting the assemblage point so they can move into a form of like emptiness into form and then emptiness again, and they realize that they are actually quite mutable, and that we have like 1,000 faces as we move from emptiness into form and back into emptiness again. It doesn't matter. I mean, there really are thousands of techniques. The problem I find is that a lot of the teachings, the lineages are broken or they're partial, and people kind of, a little bit like a candy store, they go in there, they take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and they just get a bit of a mishmash. Yeah. So whereas a lot of these teachings are whole lineages in themselves, and if you follow them in their entirety, they're complete. But if you just take a piece of them, or you just look at one portion of them, you get a very misaligned view, especially when you tack on other things or you add your own 2 cents worth. But I think we do need to add our 2 cents worth because we are the experience. But you know, that's why I've designed these remedies around. I've been very, very clean with them. I've like made sure I've brought none of myself into it. I was like, I've sourced the most beautiful things I could find, you know, from the light of Jupiter to mantras and everything in between, so that, you know, people have access to a lot of these things they wouldn't normally have access to. And I think that's, you know, we come to a point, it's like, okay, well, here it is, at least you have it there. 10 years ago, this was not there. You have this option. Here's a boat. If you want a boat, there's a river. Like, do you want to go across the river? No. If you don't, then it's fine. Then don't use the boat. But if you actually do want to go across, you can try swim, but like there might be crocodiles there. So here's a boat and use it. I mean, it's, you got to navigate it a bit and it's still your journey, but to give people like a bit of a chance so that as the density, the narrative, I mean, I saw this with myself. I was getting very caught in the Corona narrative. And then I took the Kali and it literally jacked me out of the narrative. I was like, Choo. I was entrained and then I was like, whoa, unplugged from the way. I was like, okay, I could see it over there as opposed to being here. And it was like, I wasn't aware that I was getting caught up in it. I was just like, it was almost like an entrainment, right?
Yeah, like a hypnotism.
A hypnotism, yeah. And like you're doing it to yourself.
Can we open up for a couple of questions? Because we're going to have to shift out of the session, but it's absolutely riveting information. So has anybody got any questions? I know we can speak for a long time and there's a lot we could do. Adam and I could probably do like a year's worth.
5 hours. No problem.
Who would like? Yes. Katie, hello.
Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Adam, my question is, I understand you've sourced all these products from all different places and therefore you have to recoup your expenses. But would you be willing to trade on, say, for example, the talent exchange?
I think, my friend, Stephen, I think he's selling them for talent. Stephen Bartler, I was on the challenge, I'm not anymore, but you can do that with him if you want. He's there. Are you in Cape Town?
Actually in the southwestern Cape, but I can contact him.
Yeah,
well,
I'm also a supplier.
Yeah.
And I can also
Amanda as well. Yeah, he's doing the talent stuff. I was part of the talent exchange, but now it's just too complicated. But he's doing that. So if you want to do that, you can do that with him.
Yeah.
Stephen Bartler, I can send you his details. Yeah, he actually is the one who chanted most of the mantras. So he's kind of he's doing that. So so that's yes.
And so I took the liberation remedy about 4 years ago.
Yes. Yes.
So do you think I should repeat that or go on to the next one?
How many bottles did you take?
One.
Oh, okay. You see, I mean, for me, it went through for about a year. So it's like 12 bottles. First one was like old relationships. First 2 or 3 was old relationships. Then it was old friendships that were broken. Then it was family. Then it was acquaintances. Until it was just arbitrary memories, until it's like I'd squeezed the toothpaste tube and it was kind of empty of memories. And then I stopped. But one is just, I mean, to even think that like it might take a year to do 30, 40 years is like, it's going pretty fast anyway. But, there's all sorts of new stuff out there now. There's Panacea, which is amazing because that deals with the patterning. So, I mean, I'll connect you with Stephen and he's happy to trade in talents for these things.
Right.
But I mean, there's a lot out there. I'm going to do a whole talk on the Golden Box shortly and show people how they can use it. But I would say definitely there's plenty of work in liberation. There's at least 3, 4 bottles in that, easily. But then there's the other ones, there's immortality, there's a whole lot of stuff. Or you can just go for one of the kind of fancy immortality ones, like the Lakshmi, which contains creation and golden spiral and contains a lot of that anyway. You can just go for the crown straight away. There's no reason why not. Huh?
Yeah, why not?
No, why not? Yeah. So,
thank you.
Cool.
Cool. Okay, Tish is next and then Diane.
Hi, Adam. First question, I had a look at your website.
That's the dollar site. There's a South African site as well. There's a South African site as well in rands, yeah?
Yeah, that was the question. Where can I find the rand value?
I mean, buy from Amanda, ideally, or I can give you the other website, yeah?
Okay. All right. Well, Amanda's close. I'll speak to
Amanda, yeah.
The other thing is my my vision going forward is to work with children, healing children, but also healing with children to teach them to self-heal. And one of the tools that I am planning on using is verbal homeopathy.
Okay.
Which is not much different from chanting. You know, when you program frequency into water.
Sure.
What
do you mean by just saying the remedy to them? Like as a name like Lycopodium 30C or like what?
Her name is Silva Doncheva. She's Bulgarian.
Yeah.
She released a range. She released a book on how to change the frequency of water based on sounds. M, 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 in order to deal with certain issues. The only prerequisite is clean water, clean mineral water.
No, you could chant the remedy into it. You can also put you can take a cup or like a glass cup and you can write the remedy and a potency and put that on the water, and then it goes in and you can then drink it. Or what I do is I call them patches. I just write the remedy on a piece of paper and I put the potency and then I stick it on my hip. So it's actually chanting the remedy into my body, you know, like you write it onto yourself, but don't write it straight on. Otherwise, unless you can write in reverse, because it'll be the mirror image. But if you write like LYC 30C and you just stick it in, you know, on your hip, I use that in. I've got like 5,000 remedies, but I use these patches. That's what I use because they're so easy. You know, it's like, oh, I need this. I could do it. And I give it to my daughter, Arnica 30C. She puts it on, or she writes it herself. You know, so in terms of that, there's a lot of scope for that. Yeah.
Okay, so the question I have is, could I ring your bell for those kind of thought processes for the center?
Sure, absolutely. I'm all about the children. All about the children. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thanks so much. Diane? We can't hear you, love. You have to take unmute.
Hello, Adam.
Hey,
Blue Lotus, could you talk a little bit about that?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so Blue Lotus I made in England. I made it from the red and the white springs of Glastonbury. I made it from Blue Lotus I got from Sri Lanka. And I when I cooked it up, right, I made the red spring, you know, the feminine, and the white spring, the masculine, in Glastonbury, the holy springs. I used that as the water to make it from. So it's got the Blue Lotus itself, but then it's got the connection to Glastonbury and the dragon and the sword and like all of that lineage. So it contains both, but the Blue Lotus itself, for me, whenever I take Blue Lotus, I just relax. It asks no questions. It's not like cannabis. It doesn't mess with your head. It just calms the nervous system. I've had times with my daughter's like spitting mad, not so much anymore. Like before, when she was a bit younger, she'd be like really angry and whatever. And I just squirt some Blue Lotus in her mouth. And then like 5 minutes later, she'd be like, oh, da. She'd be all fine again. So it calms that nervous system down to the point where one is kind of rational, one's able to kind of govern one's thought process so that you're not in the madness of emotions. Like whenever I do a talk, just to calm my nervous system, I'll take a dose of Blue Lotus. For public speaking, Blue Lotus is amazing. You take it and you open your mouth and it all just comes out flawless. So, but it's really designed just to soothe the nervous system to the point where it's calm. And then from that calm, whether it's for sleep or for public speaking or exam taking, or just you're feeling a bit revved or you've had too much coffee during the day, whatever that might be, you just take it as it's like, just take the volume down a bit on your nervous system, and then you make better neurological and sort of mental emotional decisions because you're not so revved. Yeah, so that's what it's really designed for.
And how many drops would one take?
7 drops. I mean, you can give people give remedies to pets as well. I mean, I've had people with traumatized pets giving liberation to the pet, and it actually gets rid of the trauma, you know. The animals that have been abused, it works very quickly on pets as well. So, I mean, I give the same
and children. Hey, children also
children,
process remedies really well.
very quickly. There's a lot less, and that Blue Lotus is great for kids. The rest of them not so much for kids because they don't really need it. But yeah, Blue Lotus definitely. Just for childcare, it's amazing. Really, it takes the edge off a lot of things.
Thank you.
So Adam, we're gonna have to come to the end of this, but we'll definitely have you on again because, like I said, it's a 5-hour in itself. But so how do people, so I'm a supplier, people can get hold of the remedies through me. There's a whole lot of people in Joburg that are suppliers and all around the country. Just give us your best websites for that, for the South African.
Well, for the local website, I've only got one local website. It's actually, I didn't mention this because I don't know if I've given you some of this, but this is the Pashmina. It's the immortal skin. It's immortality, it's got creation, it's got the golden spiral, and it smells beautiful. So like it actually softens the skin, but it also makes you feel good. It's a feel-good cream. So you actually put it on, it's like, oh, I feel great. It's got the creation and the golden spiral bringing everything back into alignment. So this is really around this one. So it's immortalskin.coza. All the products are on there. So if people want a local price, but rather buy from distributors like you. So yeah.
And people can also become distributors.
If you've got a group and like I can send you the wholesale price and you can actually distribute. I'm always looking for new distributors because everyone has different groups, different demographics, and it's it's like sometimes people really like the Australians. They just love liberation. They just keep buying.
They've got a lot of clearing to do.
I don't know what's going on there, but different. Like I sell a lot of redemption in Uruguay. Like why redemption in Uruguay? I don't know. Yeah, but each area gets kind of quite excited about one product or another, but they all remain topical. There'll always be a place for Blue Lotus. So creation. If anyone's thinking of just introducing just one thing into their reality, taking creation every day for 3 weeks, it doesn't alter anything. It just puts you in a good mood. So it just means that you can go out and actually have a good day with no questions asked. It's not going to tranquilize you in any way. It's got so much of the good stuff in, right? You just feel so open and expanded and everything just seems effortless. That's why I even put this into the cream. So when people like put the cream on, I was like, oh wow, this cream makes me feel good. It's like, yeah, it's the creation in there, and the golden spiral, which is about bringing stuff back into alignment. But there's immortality in here too. This is also like my rockstar cream version because it'll youthen you, and you'll actually feel the skin starts to get softer because it's telling the skin directly to regenerate. So it's giving a direct message to the cells to get. People have put just the stuff on for skin cancers. It's actually been rolling back skin cancers. So it's been amazing. We're going on we're doing a 21 days of beauty thing with this Pashmina shortly. There's 21 ingredients, some botanicals, some wildflowers, some all sorts of ingredients, but each one is an aspect of beauty and like what that means to really be empowered. So we're going into that. So lots of stuff happening.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to work with the remedy in different ways. That can be a project in themselves, teaching people about the different frequencies and the way that I still, want to is, because everybody's talking about the med beds and sort of rejuvenation and the whole idea of immortality and all of that is like coming to the fore in people's dialogue. So it's like, wow, well, can we use the entrainment of the remedy to start to also like kick in our minds to help us create a new identity that we can actually be an immortal being. What is that? So that's why I really love these things. But Adam, I'm sorry, we've got someone else coming on.
Cool.
I'm gonna have to wrap it up. Is there any other way other than just give us the website again?
Immortal Skin, IMMORTAL, skin.coza. That's
okay.
All
and it's got all the products. Has that got everything?
It's got all the products. Yeah.
Okay, Immortal Skin. Okay. And We have so enjoyed having you. It's like such a huge, a huge amount of wisdom that you carry. So thank you so much.
Just one more site. If people, it's not a product site. It's an information site. It's newimmortals.com. New-immortals.com. That's a lot of my early writings on immortality and the implications of it, and the psychological aspects of it, and some stuff on the jellyfish. And if people want to know more about the jellyfish, in particular the immortality aspect, then have a look there, because there's some interesting philosophical articles. You'd enjoy them, Amanda.
Yeah, and no harm was done to the jellyfish at all.
No harm was done. I returned them to the sea, to back
they
up
weren't
and happily
hurt.
swimming. I returned them to youth. They're swimming off, having baby jellyfish in the sea happily. Yeah. So if anything's going to inherit the earth, it's going to be the jellyfish, because it can't die. So yeah.
Beautiful. Anybody want to say anything before we close? Any comments? Any last 1-2 minutes? Let's just give someone else a chance, Tish. Let's just see if there's anyone else. Anyone else want to say goodbye? I think everybody's kind of just digesting. It's a quite a download, eh? Quite a download. And your book, Adam, Buddha Brats, it's available on Kindle still.
It's still on Kindle. Yeah.
It's a lovely sort of introduction to the beginning of your journey.
Yes.
Putting the white powdered gold into the rivers of Cape Town to activate everybody.
Yeah, no, early versions of my technology, but it was the building blocks.
The awakening. It starts with white powdered gold into the waters. Beautiful, Adam. Lots of love. We love you very much. Thank you for your work on the planet, and we'll be in touch soon.
Just put my email there if anyone wants to get hold of me.
Absolutely.
AdamSuzman@gmail.com. Yeah, if anyone wants to get hold of me, like the child homeopathy one. Yeah, you can just get hold of me, and AdamSuzman@gmail.com, and then we'll just move into audio, because too many emails. Yeah, but I mean, that's my email. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, great, Adam. Thank you so much for your time.
Cool. Good to see you again, Amanda.
Okay, lots of love, eh? Okay.
All right.
Bye.